Let's talk about something that comes up way too often and frankly gets under my skin a little bit because it's a trap that too many businesses fall into. You hire a specialist, maybe it's a Google Ads expert, maybe it's an SEO consultant, maybe it's somebody who's killing it on Meta. And look, I'm not here to, talk down on any specialists. There are plenty of talented people out there who live and breathe one specific channel. They've got deep technical know-how. They can tell you exactly how many characters to use in your headlines, and they stay up to date with every tiny change in their platform's algorithm. But if all you're bringing to the table is a hammer, then everything starts to look like a nail. That's the problem. Running successful marketing campaigns today isn't about throwing a dart at one tactic and hoping it hits the bullseye. It's about strategy. It's about synergy. It's about pulling multiple levers at the same time and knowing exactly why you're pulling each one. It's about orchestrating a well thought out system where each piece of the puzzle supports the other, amplifies it, strengthens it. Think of it like a band. Sure, the guitarist might be amazing, but if the drummer's off or the vocals are out of sync, it doesn't matter how good that guitar solo is, the performance falls flat. It's like running a restaurant and only focusing on the menu. Sure, the food matters, but what about the service, the ambiance, the cleanliness, the location, the marketing, the music playing in the background? It's all interconnected. If one part of the experience is off, the whole thing suffers. You can serve the best dish in town, but if people are waiting 45 minutes just to get seated or the lighting makes the food look like a horror movie prop, nobody's coming back. Marketing is no different. Every element contributes to the customer's experience and perception of your brand. Imagine assembling a team of specialists to build a world-class automobile. You're going to have an engine guy, a body designer, somebody who, is great at interiors, a suspension wizard. But each one works completely alone. No collaboration, no shared blueprint, no coordination. What you'd end up with is a car made up of individually impressive parts that don't actually work together. The engine doesn't fit the frame, the doors don't close properly, the dashboard's not connected to anything, and the wheels are too wide for the wheel wells. Individually, everything looks like it should be amazing, but in reality, it's a Frankenstein of dysfunction. Flashy, maybe. Functional? Yeah, not even close. So that's exactly what it's like hiring a bunch of different one-channel marketing experts. One's optimizing Google Ads, another's dialing in email automation, somebody else is redesigning your homepage. But if they're not on the same page, if they're not synced to a larger, cohesive strategy, you're not building momentum, you're just cobbling together a bunch of mismatched efforts. It looks like effort, it feels like progress, but when you actually try to drive results, the whole system shudders. Because no matter how excellent each individual part is, if they don't connect, if they don't align with the same vision, you're not going to move forward. Marketing is a machine, yes, but more than that, it's a living, breathing organism. It needs coordination, it needs integration, it needs total alignment. Otherwise, what you have isn't a strategy, it's chaos disguised as expertise. I've seen companies pour thousands of dollars into Facebook ads with a killer media buyer, but the website they're sending traffic to, kind of garbage. It doesn't load fast, doesn't speak to the audience, messaging is a mess, the design looks outdated, the call to actions are buried, and the content doesn't connect with the actual ad that got them there in the first place. And guess what happens to the traffic? It bounces faster than a rubber ball on concrete. People click, they take one look and immediately hit the back button. And then what? The media buyer gets blamed, but the real issue was the foundation wasn't there. It's not always the targeting or the CPC. Sometimes it's what's waiting at the other end of that click that's broken. You can't build a skyscraper on sand, and too many businesses try to do just that. They want to scale, but they haven't poured the concrete. They haven't set the rebar. And that's why their funnel crumbles under pressure. Or alternatively, they've got a beautifully branded website with solid SEO, great content, but they're running ads with copy that sounds like it was written by a robot who failed creative writing class. The kind buzzwords stacked on top of buzzwords, overly polished, sterile, lifeless. It doesn't sound like a real person, let alone resonate with the kind of emotional connection you need to make a sale. Or worse, the ad creative doesn't match the landing page, so people click expecting one thing and then get hit with something totally different. They get confused, disoriented, maybe even a little suspicious. And just like that, they are gone. That disconnect kills conversions every single time. It's like inviting somebody to a high-end dinner party, showing them a preview of champagne and hors d'oeuvres, and then when they arrive, you're handing out, microwave burritos on paper plates. The promise and the reality are, completely out of sync. And you know what? People remember that feeling. They remember the bait and switch. Expectations matter. Consistency matters. Your brand's credibility takes a hit, and the worst part is you may never know because most people won't tell you. They'll just disappear. So success does not live in silos. It lives in alignment. It lives in harmony, in that rhythm that happens when every part of your marketing machine is playing the same tune. It's about getting every player in the orchestra to hit the same beat, this, messaging, creative, tactics, execution, all working together as one. When your creative speaks to your strategy, when your strategy aligns with your customer journey, when your analytics inform your pivots, that's when things click. That's when it stops feeling like a gamble and starts feeling like momentum. What works, what actually drives ROI and real business growth is when the message, the creative, the paid media tactics, the website experience, the analytics tracking, and all the landing page content, all come together like a well-oiled machine. And not just once, it's not a set it and forget it type of setup. It's a dynamic moving target, an ecosystem that breathes, changes, reacts. You have to watch it like a hawk. You have to spot the weak points, pivot fast when something isn't performing. Sometimes the offer's fine, but the headline's off. Sometimes the funnel's great, but the value proposition is, buried. And sometimes that pivot isn't even in the ads. It's in the product positioning or the trust signals or the follow-up flow. Everything has to be looked at holistically. That's not optional anymore. It's survival. So let me walk you through this. Your message and creative, it's the spark. That's what grabs attention. It's what speaks to your customer emotionally, and it's the single most powerful force in catching somebody's interest before they swipe past you forever. If you're not hitting on a pain point, a goal, or a desire in those first 2 seconds, they're going to be gone, period. You don't get another shot. The scroll is ruthless, unforgiving, indifferent. Creative is the front door to your brand. If it's weak, they're going to never walk in. If it's confusing or generic, they'll bounce. But if it's strong, if it cuts through the noise and makes somebody pause, you can lead them exactly where you want. That first impression doesn't just open the door, it sets the tone for the whole customer journey. Great creative does more than just look good. It provokes curiosity. It makes a promise. Creates tension that only your product can resolve. It stops the scroll and starts the story. Then there's the platform tactics. This is the engine behind the message that is distributed. Are we targeting the right people? Are we using the best campaign structure for our objective? Are we optimized for mobile, for time of day, for creative fatigue? Are we leveraging all the tools within Meta or Google or TikTok, or LinkedIn to get the most out of our ad spend? Are we A/B testing audiences? Are we feeding the algorithm smart data so that it can do what it does best, learn and scale? This isn't just set it and forget it, like I said earlier. This is daily maintenance, real-time decision-making, reading signals and adapting on the fly, watching trends, adjusting budgets, shifting creatives, rolling out the variants. It's a dance between data and instinct, and the more experience you have, the more nuanced that dance becomes. You can't just automate insight. Somebody has to be steering the ship. But even if we've got the perfect message and the perfect targeting, none of it matters if the website sucks, if the landing page looks like it was built in 2015, if there's no clear call to action, if it takes longer than 2 seconds to load on mobile. You've just lit your ad spend on fire. I'm not being dramatic here. You'd be shocked at how many businesses blow thousands of dollars a month sending traffic to sites that don't convert. It's like renting a billboard space to advertise a store with a locked front door. Or worse, a door that leads into a confusing maze with no signs and no cash register. Your website is a handshake. It's where interest either becomes action or fizzles out entirely. If your ad message says polished, modern, trustworthy, but your website says we haven't updated it in 8 years, that's brand inconsistency that kills conversions right on the spot. People make judgments fast, subconsciously, and your site needs to reinforce every positive assumption they have made from your ad. Otherwise, they're gone, probably for good. And don't even get me started on tracking. If we're not properly measuring every step of the user journey, where they came from, what they've clicked, what they've read, how far they scrolled. We're flying blind, not slightly off course, completely blind. It's like driving a car at night with no headlights, no dashboard, and no GPS. You may still be moving, but you've got no idea where you are, where you're headed, and when you're just about to drive straight off a cliff. That means wasted money. It means you're missing golden insights that could help you scale. It means you're overlooking the subtle signals that could lead to huge breakthroughs, and it means you're repeating mistakes that could have been fixed with one simple tweak. Tracking tells the truth, and when you don't have it, you're running on gut instincts, and while intuition is valuable, it doesn't pay the bills. You can't improve what you don't measure. You can't double down on what you don't know is working, and you definitely can't fix what you can't even see. That kind of opacity isn't just inefficient, it's dangerous to your bottom line. Now, I'm going to say something that might ruffle a few feathers. Most specialists, most channel-specific experts don't think about the big picture. They just don't. It's not because they're bad at what they do. A lot of them are truly excellent within their narrow domain, but they're trained to focus on their own slice of the pie. In essence, they have blinders on, chasing platform-specific KPIs like ROAS, CPC, or CTR without considering what happens after the click. They're optimizing ads, but not considering whether the landing page resonates. They're writing subject lines, but ignoring whether the follow-up flow nurtures or annoys. But what good is a perfectly optimized ad account if your offer is off? Your site is confusing, your creative is missing the mark. What good is amazing click-through data if everybody bounces after 2 seconds? What good is a killer email campaign if the customer journey dies at the checkout page? Marketing isn't about one metric looking good, it's about the whole system converting. Every piece working in tandem to move somebody from maybe to hell yes. That's the difference between busy work and impact, between noise and revenue, between dabbling and dominating. That's why full service matters. We built our agency to solve this exact problem. We don't just run your ads. We don't just do your SEO. We don't just shoot your video or build your website or write your blog posts. We do all of it, and we do it strategically. It's not about throwing services at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's about understanding your business, your audience, and your goals, and then building a plan that pulls every lever in the right order at the right time. It's about finding the most efficient path and walking that path with you. We've got strategists who understand how to architect growth from the ground up. We've got copywriters who can speak directly to your customer's core desire. Developers who make your site fast, functional, and frictionless. Video and photo pros who know how to create thumb-stopping visuals. And media buyers who can take all of that and get it in front of the right people at the right moment. And it's not just about having all the pieces, it's about making them talk to each other. Because when your creative team is collaborating with your ad strategist who's talking to your web development team, who's working with your analytics lead, that's when the magic happens. That's when small tweaks lead to big results. That's when we catch a drop-off in a funnel, not just in the ad data, but in the behavior on the landing page. That's when we see a campaign underperforming, not because the ad's bad, but because the messaging doesn't align with the email follow-up, and we fix it in real time. That kind of real-time optimization just isn't possible when you've got 5 different freelancers, each working in their own little bubble. By the time the ad person flags something, the dev's on vacation, the copywriter's out of sync, and your campaign's bleeding money while everybody else is pointing fingers. Accountability is diffused, communication is delayed, and the results are going to suffer. Now, I know what some people are thinking, but full service is expensive. Let me tell you what's actually expensive. Wasting 10 grand a month on ads that don't convert, paying for SEO that ranks the wrong keywords, spending 5 figures on a new website that doesn't load right or speak to your customer. Trust me, the cost of fixing problems later is always higher than getting it right from the start. And while a full service agency may look like a bigger investment on paper, in reality, it's often the more cost-effective choice because you're not duplicating efforts, missing signals, or making disconnected decisions. And beyond the dollars, there's opportunity cost. Every month that your marketing isn't firing on all cylinders is a month you're losing leads, customers, sales, and more importantly, momentum. That's time you don't get back. That's compounding growth you're missing out on. That's your competition getting ahead while you're stuck troubleshooting why your bounce rate just spiked. So if you're wondering why your marketing isn't working, if you're frustrated that your ads aren't converting, your site isn't ranking, your emails aren't getting clicks, take a step back. Ask yourself, do I have specialists or do I have a team that sees the whole picture? Marketing today isn't about picking a lane and hoping for the best. It's about understanding how every lane intersects, how one weak link brings the whole machine down, and how one aligned pivot can elevate the entire system. It's a chess game, not checkers. It's a symphony, not a solo. There's no magic bullet. There's no one-size-fits-all funnel that works for every brand. There's no plug-and-play campaign template that's going to turn your business into a seven-figure success story. There's only deep understanding, relentless testing, constant optimization, and crystal clear communication. That's what we do at Pure Eye. We build marketing that moves, all of it, not just one tactic, not just one channel. We build the whole damn engine, and then we keep tuning it week after week until it hums, until it's not just running, it's outperforming. Because success doesn't come from specialists in silos. It comes from a team that sees the big picture and knows how to execute on every single part of it. It comes from a partner that can look at the data, the creative, the tech stack, and the messaging all at once and say, here's the lever we're going to need to pull today. So if you're tired of patchwork strategies, if you're ready to stop duct taping your marketing together piece by piece, let's talk. You don't need more tactics, you need better alignment, you need strategy, you need momentum. You need a team that can look at your entire marketing ecosystem and make it sing. And we can build that together.